Welcome to Creating Connections Podcast, episode 123. I'm Mitch Taylor.
And I'm Vickie Musney.
And it's easy as 1, 2, 3. All you have to do is subscribe to us on iTunes to get more of this great content. Thank you for watching and listening to Creating Connections Podcast. We greatly appreciate your viewership, listenership. Today we're going to talk about what makes us experts. How did we get here?
Yes. Who do we have to thank?
Yeah, who do we have to thank? So those are all things we're going to talk about here today on the podcast as to why do we have this platform? So if you want to know, you want to find out, maybe resources for you if you want to gain more insight. Yep. I'm a firm believer in finding your mentor's mentor. Listen on.
That was nice and easy.
What are you talking about? This also speaks to a much bigger issue.
Providing personal solutions through understanding people. This is the Creating Connections Podcast with Gittimer Certified Advisor Mitch Taylor and Certified Personality Trainer Vickie Musney.
Welcome back to Creating Connections Podcast. I'm Mitch.
And I'm Vickie.
And today we're talking about how did we get here? How did we get here?
Yeah. I think it's fun every few months we have that extra week in the month where we have an episode, kind of a free-for-all, talk about what you want, where we go back to something at the core of who we are and why we're here. And so I wanted us to talk a little bit about our mentors and our training that we went through. And I know, Mitch, we've had, Jeffrey as a guest before.
Yes.
But I'm sure there's lots of stories that you haven't shared or resources that you want to talk about, things that helped really shape your view on sales and the way you teach about sales to other people.
So I guess I'll go back to, I've been in sales pretty much my whole life. I mean, think about,
let's face it, all kids are in sales, right?
Yeah. Well, think about your first date. How many times did you close that? You know what I mean? So the reality is, we're all in sales in different aspects, if you will. But training for me, I guess, I go back to my start at Music Box Productions. My boss there, Kimberly Burnett, who is a wonderful woman and has done great things with her company and in her life. She took me to a Tony Robbins seminar in Detroit, and then she talked about peeling the onion, how that's so important in regards to the sales process. And then from there, I went and did car sales for a little while and got some formal training there and also things of what not to do, frankly. And that's important, I feel, too, is to understand, the ins and outs and how sales has evolved, selling has evolved over the last decade or 2 or 3 for that matter. Because it has. Consumers have evolved. Sure. People have evolved.
Yeah.
Other people have intrigued me in regards to sales. Kyle Cease, for example. I have his book here, Kyle Cease. I hope I screwed this up. Been several different factors over the years. Jeffrey Gittimer playing a big role. We also talk about Ben Gay III and his role in what I do, and that was a huge shift for me. That sum tertius, you are third. That was a huge transition statement for me.
Yeah.
But having gone through,
that's seriously, that's at the heart of what you teach.
It is
to lead with your heart, and
it is
look for a heart-to-heart connection.
And so the Gittimer licensed trainer thing came up for me. Frankly, about 5 to 10 years, 10 years too early, but fine. And Jeffrey had the opportunity to train with him, become a Gittimer certified advisor, now a Gittimer licensed trainer, and I seized the opportunity. I've never been a person to say, no to pretty much almost any opportunity that exists for myself. And so I flew down to Charlotte and took the training with Jeffrey, and to be immersed in that and playing with the big boys. Like, we're not, talking companies that run, multi-million-dollar sales campaigns, people there. it's a pretty intimidating thing. And to know that I'm one of the few guys coming out of that is still immersed in it is good.
Yeah.
So that's my background a little bit with sales and sales training and and things like that. So how about you, Vickie?
Yeah. Well, personalities was always something I was kind of interested in. And, you know, when I was in college, I took a couple of tests with the psychology class that I took at school. And then my husband and I actually did some in our premarital counseling that we did with the pastor who married us. And it was always just something that was interesting and fun. But I didn't ever think it was going to be something that was life-changing or that I was going to go on to teach. And then in 2008, that's when I started to get serious about doing public speaking. I'd been doing a lot of speaking for a Mothers of Preschoolers, actually, an organization that I was involved in, MOPS International, and speaking locally at different chapters and talking about just mom issues. And how to plan fun kids' birthday parties on a budget and just little things. But I love the public speaking aspect. And I said, you know what, maybe I want to actually get some more training. I've been out of college for a long time and I had little kids, though I wasn't thinking about going back. I said, I'll just go do like a 3-day workshop. And I found one online. And to be honest, I hadn't even fully connected the dots when I signed up for this workshop, because it was the professional public speaking course that was offered through an organization called Class. And when I got there and I started taking the course and realizing, oh yeah, these are the people that created that one personality test that I had taken years before.
Right.
Because everything they were teaching us about communication, when you're on a stage, when you're preparing a talk or a lesson that you want to teach or give, you have to remember that you have to be true to your personality, and remember that you have every possible personality combination in your audience. So you have to build in variety and something for everyone. So I was in this communication training, but it was steeped in personalities. And that's what kind of reignited my passion for learning more about the personalities. So then I went on to take their certification course to become a certified personality trainer to teach their materials. So, and I want to make sure I'm giving adequate credit. So a lot of people have seen me talk about this test, Wired That Way. This is the main test, but those names at the bottom, you can
Florence
see that.
Littauer.
Florence Littauer, she and her late husband, Fred, were the ones that developed it. And when I did the public speaking training back in 2008, Florence was actually still heavily involved in the teaching. And she was my small group mentor.
Oh, wow.
That she sat in with my small group when I did my training. And then when I went back the next year to do the personality training to get the certification, the end of the course, kind of the highlight of it, when we all had to do our sample presentations to pass, we actually did that at Florence's home. And which was really cool, and you talk about like that morning you had breakfast with Jeffrey and he was cooking pancakes. It was that same kind of thing. We were really invited into her home, and actually her 80th birthday was right around that time. And since then she's not as involved. So I feel really grateful that I got to take that training when I did. Her daughter Marita has taken over a lot of the responsibilities. And then Jerry Wakefield is the other one that's really involved, and she helped lead and coordinate the advanced personality training that I went and took just last fall in November. I was there. And that was actually my first time since 2009, I guess, taking more training with other certified personality trainers, which was really fun to go back and see some of the people that I had met at my training years earlier, as well as some new ones that had become certified more recently. But for me, as a personality specialist, that was just really cool to be with other people that share that passion, and other people that were teaching me new things and new techniques and the latest brain research and how that applies to personalities, and also seeing some new ideas for activities, because we did that for 3 days.
Sure.
And so I was able to pull some of those into the last workshop I taught, like with the one I did with your staff.
Yeah.
I brought in some ideas that I had learned and put my own spin on them.
Sure.
And my take. And speaking of putting my own spin on, I should warn you, if you read any of the books, and I picked out Communication Plus for my pile because this is a really good entry level one. It's very different than my Personalities for Business. It's general communication and how it applies to personalities. And it just has a simple, like a chapter on a lot of different things. One chapter on family, one on marriage, one on business. Whereas I try to go a little bit deeper into the business. Or if you take the Wired That Way test that I recommend, you can buy this on Amazon for like around $3. Which is a great way to do it. It's a little 8-page booklet that measures strengths and weaknesses. But notice when you take your results that they don't call it by the colors like I do. These are the same 4 colors that I teach. You hear me talk about reds, yellows, blues, and greens. This company still uses the original Greek-based terms.
Phlegmatic.
So, phlegmatic, sanguine, choleric, and melancholy, which I don't love teaching it that way. I did for
it's not easy to remember.
The first year or so, but it is. And I feel like by cutting out that added vocabulary, it allows me to help my audiences retain the content.
Yeah. And
you have just one less hoop to jump through without these weird words that are harder to remember. So the content in any of the books or the resources or the test, I still totally recommend, but just know that you will kind of end up having to learn those words if you read some of the Litauer materials or the other Wired That Way materials. But it's been great. I really just am excited that the training that I had and the time that I got to do it, to get to meet, Florence personally and spend time with her and in her home was huge. But also just being part of another network and having these other friends, other personality trainers that I can go to and be like, hey, I've been thinking about doing this. What have you tried?
Yeah. Well,
and that's important to me too, that I'm not alone in my journey as a personality trainer. I'm not the only one, and I'm not teaching something that I invented. And you didn't invent sales. It's been around. But what we teach is a result of the people that we have trained with.
Yes.
And mixed with our personalities and our personal experiences. So if you met with another certified personality trainer, you probably have a different experience, even though the basic materials would be the same. The test that we give is the same.
Yeah.
And the same thing, if you met with a different sales trainer, or even if you met with a different Gitomer licensed trainer, you wouldn't get it through, through Mitch's perspective. And so that's important, I think, when we're trying to educate ourselves, is just not stopping short, not selling yourself short of the opportunities that are out there, looking beyond, looking at, who you are already learning from, who they learn from, and what else makes them who they are. I think those are all important things to think about.
So we're sharing some resources today of where we got our start and who we learned from and who we look up to, and people you can go to check out if you want to get more information about, the knowledge that we bring to the table. Now, the difference, again, as Vickie stated, is that, it's our perspective on and applying it to your event business.
Yes.
It makes it different. You're taking the expertise of people like Vickie and I, who have been in the event business for decades, and actually, have been in the trenches just like you are, working it every single day, and be able to take that knowledge now apply it to the event industry. That's the personal swing of it that you're not going to get through any other sales trainer or any other personality trainer. And that's the beauty of what we do. So that's the beauty of creating connections, providing personal solutions through understanding people better. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for listening to the Creating Connections podcast with Gitomer Certified Advisor Mitch Taylor and Certified Personality Trainer Vickie Musny. For more information on providing personal solutions through understanding people better, visit creatingconnections.biz.